I'm broadcasting to Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, and Twitch.
Oh,
And
wow.
with Facebook, if you don't broadcast within 10 minutes of your proposed start time, then it deletes deletes the link to your stream, and you basically miss out on it unless
Uh,
you remove and recreate from scratch another Facebook one. Let me make sure that this is running in the background. All right, good deal. Sweet. All right. Yeah, I always have a YouTube window playing in the another tab to ensure that I can keep an eye on the fact that uh, we are still live and that YouTube hasn't false flagged me. So welcome to WyzGyz Entertainment. This is your host Wyman.
Hi, good morning, WyzGyz. What do you like me to call you?
You can either call me WyzGyz or my name Wyman. Either way.
Okay. Well, good morning, Wyman.
All
It's
right.
6 a.m. here in Australia.
Australia.
Uh,
Oh my gosh, how cool is that?
I know. So, if anybody wants to know, Friday does happen. The world hasn't ended yet. The world has kept turning.
That it has. Out of curiosity, real quick, I think there used to be lots of report of major forest fires out there.
Oh, so that was in summer. So Australian summer is we are in the southern hemisphere, so basically everything that between say the US and Australia is reversed. So right now it's winter, towards winter, and your winter is our summer.
Oh,
So when it was around December, that's our forest fire season, and it was horrible this year. So we were looking at, um, well, you got to remember, the area that was burnt out was bigger than most states in America. Australia, although it looks small on the map,
huh?
it's still a freaking continent, so it is huge. So yeah, a huge areas of land were just totally burnt out. So we're talking about, I think 1 billion animals were perished in this forest
Yeah.
fire, in the bushfires. It was a horrible time. And Australia has still a really big farming population as well. So you got the farmers who live out a bit more remote. Oh man, so many small country towns, a lot of the remote stuff. It was just all gone. It's been a horrible year. I'll just say this. So we had that. We had then the virus which will not be named, just in case I don't want you to get flagged.
You
We
can
had
name it on my channel. I don't mind.
yeah. Oh no. Sometimes they do flag it for some reason. I just don't know why. But we
That
had
is
that.
that's
Uh,
just insane. Oh man, it's ridiculous.
yeah. So we had bushfires. We had that. It's been one thing after another. It's been pretty crazy. And a section of Australia, we got it under control, but then there has been a spike in more cluster cases.
Hmm.
So the state of Victoria has gone back under lockdown again.
Oh no.
So and it looks like we're going to get hit with stage 4 lockdown in Victoria, which
Oh
means
jeez.
stage 4 means basically that's when the mandatory face masks start coming in and stuff like that. So it's just been one of those years, and like uh, jobs are being lost. It's just not a good year. I want to write 2020 off. I want to just go to 2021. Let's just skip this year. And yeah, it hasn't been a good year. Let's just get it. Let's just skip through it. And I suppose in your where you are as well, I don't think it's been a good year all around. It's been we hear how the reports. It's just been crazy. It's like pick everything that goes wrong and let's just shove into one year.
The weird thing about it all is that if you look closely at what's going on and how people are handling stuff, it all seems to boil down to politics. And whenever there's a major election year in the United States, you can sure as heck bet that there's going to be some kind of epidemic, some kind of health disaster.
Oh
But
yeah. This is worldwide. This is worldwide. So this,
Yeah,
for
this is,
once, it's not. I don't think this one. They have politicized the issue a lot in the handling, the approaches to it. But as far as the epidemic goes, it is real.
yeah,
It's not just like my country shut down, New Zealand shut down. You name it. Nearly every country in the world has been shut down.
yeah. Fortunately, like 95, 98% of reported positive cases have resulted in recovery, which is really good and promising.
Yeah.
Uh,
Look, but the scary part about it is, though, because we know so little about it, they were saying that whether it has lung scarring and all the rest, like there's so much stuff we don't know, which is actually really scary. You can recover for it, but they will say it induces permanent lung damage. And in some cases, if you're over a certain age group, it's
right,
like it's like chicken pox. If you get chicken pox as a kid, you will make a full recovery. It's all fine. You get chicken pox as an adult, it's called shingles, and that causes skin damage, lung damage, and all the rest of it. That's why chicken pox is one of the few things that actually they were saying is, you get as a kid, it's okay. You get
right.
as an adult, you better watch out, type thing.
Yeah, there's a certain percentage chance of you getting it as an adult. And it's funny you mentioned it because I actually had shingles before.
Oh, I'm so sorry. It's meant to be horrible as an adult.
Oh, it was a pain in the rear. Uh,
It's meant to be the most itchy, and you get into
yeah, it results in blisters and all that garbage. And
I'm so
uh,
sorry, man.
it's sickening. I'm,
It's
I'm
one of
glad
those.
to be over it. But now I'm kind of torn. Some people say that it's worth getting the vaccine, but others say it doesn't make a difference. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen again. And it's like the problem with taking any vaccine is because they use the original virus to treat it, to create the
Yep,
vaccine. You stand the chance of getting it again simply by taking the vaccine. So it's
I
a
know.
double-edged sword, you know.
Oh, I know. I know.
It's wild.
Anyway, let's stop talking about horrible stuff in 2020. We'll start going to murder hornets and all the rest of it soon. So,
So, can you tell us briefly about like your origin story, how you got to this point of even launching a crowdfunded comic book campaign?
okay, so look, uh, I've been creating comics since about 2014. So
Whoa!
I've fulfilled quite a few campaigns already. So um, I think Terra Olympus was my last one, which is basically a sci-fi on the space station. So I had a lot of fun with that one. Um, but in this current one, one thing I've never done is what I've waited for is I've waited until I've almost finished before I basically started a pre-launch and started a journey with a lot of people.
Yeah, yeah, pretty smart.
So in this one case, I'm still going to not launch until I'm almost ready because my time to fulfillment between the end of a campaign is about 2 months. So
Hmm.
and that's just how long it takes to get through the printing process. If you've ever gone through a big print run, it takes that long in terms of proofing, in terms of changes back and forth, um, and then for the actual print run to go through, it takes about 2 to 3 months, about 2 months. Sometimes a bit longer, sometimes a bit less. But in terms of Transhuman, I actually wanted to take you guys on a journey. So rather than have it all almost finished and then share bits and pieces as it's finished and then launch, say, about 3 or 4 weeks afterwards, Transhuman has just entered the coloring stage, which means in terms of where I need to be, I'm probably about 2 to 3 months away from having completed lettered pages to basically to show all you guys.
Hmm.
But if you sign up early now, what I'm doing is every 2 weeks, I'm sending out exclusives as it's being built. So for the first time, you can actually come on the journey with me. The email I send it out, you can reply to, which means, hey, you can start talking directly to me to go, oh, that looks fine, or man, that doesn't make sense to me. You can actually start giving feedback at
Oh
this
my
really
gosh.
early stage. And guess what? I'm here to listen. So we're happy to talk, bounce stuff back and forth, and you'll see the process as it's happening, which I haven't done before, which I'm actually really, really happy to share.
Wow. Sweet.
So, look, I know WyzGyz guys. Thank you very much. You've shared the link in the comments, guys. If you can sign up, and the other thing will be is when it gets closer to launch, those people who have their name on the pre-launch page, I'm thinking of not thinking of it. You will get something a small physical exclusive just for signing up, and if you back any of the physical tiers. I'm thinking of like a small trading card or something, but there will be something special that you will get that you won't get if you didn't sign up as well.
Huh, sweet. Yeah, everybody sign up on this mailing list and get in on it early, so you never miss an update, and so you know what the latest status is on this project as it progresses.
Awesome. But today I've got a bit of exclusive for yourself as well, which is basically I've showed this off in different channels, but I've been updating this as I've been going through different streams. So you'll see some images in here that I haven't shown on any stream before. So you get a scoop as well. You get a little
Oh,
bit exclusive.
WyzGyz exclusive.
Yay!
Awesome, awesome. Transhuman graphic novel Rivka's story.
Yep.
Is Transhuman like a saga, a series of several books?
I'm the first book itself is a standalone story. So
Oh,
you can read it'll be about 40, just over 40. Look, I'm doing the page counts. I think it'll end up being about 50, 54, 56 pages all up, the whole
mm,
graphic novel. The reason I get it over a certain size is all my books are perfect bound, so
okay.
it's not staple or what they call saddle stitch.
Yes, yes.
So they're all perfect bound, and I think the minimum in Australia, the perfect bound of book is 48 pages. So
Oh,
I
really?
always make I like it. I think it's nicer as a book.
Okay. All right.
So it's basically you get about slightly over 2 issues in terms of a comic size. You get about more than 2 issues, but the good thing about it is I throw in a lot of extras in the back as well. But yeah, no, it's a standalone. The story doesn't quite end at the end, so there is possibility for the future. But in terms of when I do a lot of volume ones, I try to make it so that if you enjoy the story, you get the first story in, and not everything gets resolved, but that there is a main plot line which gets wrapped up.
Hmm. Yeah. When I read the title, I was under the impression that Transhuman was the key title that bridged across several issues, and then you get a different character's story in every book. Excuse me.
Oh no! If I continue this, it would still be. Oh, and I'll explain why the title is the way it is. Transhuman is basically a cyberpunk type concept, which basically means people who start replacing their body parts with cybernetics. So you're no longer just human; you're now transhuman. You're moving towards a machine. So that's the concept about it. But because it's an exploration of what it takes to be human, it's just a subtitle at the end. It's kind of like Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. It's Rivka's story. Um, it If I did have a volume 2, it would still be Rivka's story, but it might focus on a different aspect of her life. It's more
Mm,
instead of Rivka's story, I could say introducing Rivka, for example.
okay. Sweet. How long has this story been in your mind? How long have you been mulling, you know, tossing the idea around in your mind and maybe taking down notes on key features of the book and the characters uh, that got you to this point?
Oh, I wrote this about almost 2 years ago, and it goes into I play around with the outline a lot, and we go through it. And when we go to the next document, I'm going to show you all the outline bits and pieces. But probably about 2 years, I've worked with the artist for about a year. The artist was very busy, but what we agreed that he'll do is he'll basically give me a page a week.
Uh,
That's what he could commit to me, about a page a week, which means the entire artwork segment took about a year to get through,
oh, okay.
which is fine. Look, I was no big rush for it. Said, look, if it's a page a week, as long as you can lock yourself in for that, let's do it. And he provided a page a week. So
Nice.
uh, the artwork component took about a year go to wall to finish up.
Okay. And so, for anyone who sees this, definitely visit this page. Sign up with your email address. Be sure to mark at least the very first checkbox to confirm you agree to terms of use, and hit the sign up button. The second button isn't necessary really, and I find it annoying because you get all of Indiegogo's no, announcements about every single campaign they have under the sun. So yeah, definitely sign up for Transhuman graphic novel Rivka's story. Are you initially at the start of the campaign going to classify it as a black and white book, and then
Oh no! So this is the fun part. It's Terra Olympus is black and white. It was grayscale, but Transhuman is 100% in color. So if
oh,
you bring up the Google log link,
yeah.
let's start talking colors. It's one of my favorite topics because I missed out on putting colors in Terra Olympus. I made a conscious decision to go grayscale with that. But
All
in
right.
Transhuman, colors play a huge part in the actual story.
Aha.
So what I'll do is let's start with what transhumanism is. It's basically the whole concept about replacing body parts. The whole idea came where um, I did some work for a hearing aid company about 2 years ago,
Oh.
and so what they told me basically when I was there doing a job for them is that you basically as a human you actually basically lose your hearing the day you're born to the day you die. The range of frequencies that your ears can detect basically shrinks. So there is actually a really fun YouTube game if you want to play. You play basically the YouTube video and it plays sounds on different frequencies. And you're meant to keep your hand up as long as you can keep hearing it. At a certain point, the adults, the hands will start dropping. And you find at the end, only the kids can start hearing this particular sound.
Oh. Is that
But
like an online game that you play as a group?
yeah, you can play as a group. So if you go to YouTube frequency hearing test, you start
Oh,
hearing that.
that's neat.
Yeah, but so as you grow older, your ears start to degrade, and it goes over time. It's not your brain can't process it. Now, what happens is when you put a hearing aid in, and what they do is they actually wire directly to that a particular nerve ending to send signals through. Guess what? Those frequencies, which you might not have heard for decades, you can start hearing again. So you're actually now hearing, and then you push the concept a bit further. What happens if the hearing aid can process signals like what a dog hears? Dogs can hear a much higher frequency than we can. What if a hearing aid can start process those signals for you? Because a human ear can't do that, but a dog's ears can. So what if your hearing aid allows you into those signals? Could you now start hearing things that you've never ever heard before? And then your brain is now start processing data, which, you know, wow, I can start hearing music on a very, very different level because you start to hear all these ranges of frequencies that someone has never heard before. And you can take the concept into, say, if you had a cybernetic eye, imagine the cybernetic eye had night vision in it, or you can see ultraviolet light into it. You can now start seeing stuff you've never ever seen before. It exists. It's just your eye has never been able to process it. So you start playing into the concepts that your human experience could be changed by all these bits and pieces. And then, then if you take to the real into the far extreme is, at what point do you stop becoming human when you start replacing all your parts? Because you are no longer, you can start doing stuff that you've never ever been done before. Not just from a physical point of view, like an arm which can lift heavy stuff. That's a bit boring, but you start to sense stuff you've never sensed before. And then you've got the flip side of the coin, which, because you need conflict in any good story, you need some conflict. But on the flip side of the coin, you've got another section of the part which I'm exploring, which is basically, you know what, you shouldn't mess around with human design, because you start then talking about, if you allow people to do that, are you now allowing gene therapy? Are you now allowing, start to mess around with the human design beyond what you should be able to allow it to? So you can see in the black, the next step in human evolution, and then you got the red. It's an affront to God. Humanity should not be touching around with human design. So you've got the two conflicting parts of the story, which gets really, looked in, really discussed, and really developed.
That's really cool. Yeah.
And if you scroll down a little bit more, and just to see the two things, and these two images have not been shared before. So this is the exclusive from WyzGyz. Images. Color plays a really big deal in it. So you can see the first image is a professor, and he's explaining, we've got this latest model. You can imagine you can do all these things with it, and he's very much in that blue color scheme. So that's very much that a little bit more scientific, a cynical. Like, just to make it clear, there are no good guys in this. It's not a one is good, one is bad. It's, hey, here's a thought process. You guys read through it, and you guys tell me what, you make your own decisions at the end. So, and then you've got the other one, which is the preacher saying, humanity, you should retain your humanity. It's important because, and then it's much more emotional. So you see the color scheme with the preacher, it's much more that golden color. It's much more that bit more emotive. Like the blue one is very distant. You feel very cold to it. The other one, you feel it's something a bit more normal, a bit more natural to it. So you've got the colors in the book playing a very key part to it.
Yeah.
And if you scroll down further, you'll see some of the color tests I did on Rivka. She's the main character in the story. So, and I'll explain a bit more about Rivka after this. But this one, for example, has a very much blue hue to it. You can kind of see the blues. So this, and then if you scroll down a bit more, the next color scheme is very much has a darker blue hue to it. You can kind of see it. It may look very subtle, but there is actually a difference in each of these. And the way it plays out in the story, I hope when people do read the story, you see all the huge amount of thought that actually goes into all the bits and pieces. So you scroll down a bit more, you see that's a bit more darker. This one's a bit more of a normal color scheme without any hues or anything to it. And this one you can start to feel a little bit warmer to Rivka. Like the other two feels a bit more colder. This one feels a little bit warmer. And the next, if you look, you can go between the two. Say this one and the one previously. This one feels a lot colder. This one's a lot warmer.
Yeah, for sure.
And the last one through is warmer still, but it's a bit too much, I think. They put a magenta overview. So she feels a lot warmer, but it feels that this one, for example, felt a little bit off to me. So I think this one was too much. But that's what you do. That's what you do a color test for, to try to figure out where you want to take it. But yeah, this one is with a little bit of a pink magenta feel to it. You can see it come through.
Yeah, this makes me think of she's watching a sunset or she's near a furnace.
Yep.
But so the color test, is that actually done for every panel in the book?
Oh, I thank God my colorist would kill me if I said yes. No. So what you tend to do with coloring is you work with the colorist, and the first like everything else you do, like when you work with a penciler, the first maybe page will take the longest time to do because you're talking character designs. Let's talk about starting the comic in terms of you have got the script ready. The first part of the comic is all the character designs. It's all agreeing on looks, agreeing on fight scenes, agreeing on all these things. So the first part of thing takes a very, very long time to get through. Once you're through, the artist can bang out pretty quickly be after that. But it's that initial setup to agree, this person looks this way, or this person's has a mannerism. Like imagine if somebody had a limp on his left leg, you have to tell the artist, look, when you draw him, he's always leaning towards his left because he's got a bad left leg, or he's leaning to his right, or something like that. You've got to put all that effort to make sure that all the little bits and pieces are all sorted correctly. But once the artist knows the guy has a bad leg, guess what? In every frame he does afterwards, he knows what to do already. You don't have to tell him a million times. Similarly with color tests and things like that, is you try to get the first page and the first character colors take a very long time to bounce back and forth to decide. But once you've got it figured out, you then take a step back. You go, you know what? We've agreed. It's all on you, Mr. Colorist. Let's see what you can do. And you make minor adjustments as you go through. They send you page by page. But in terms of the actual design and testing, once you reach a certain part, once you've gone through the initial stage, you don't need to retest. You don't need to figure it out again.
So go ahead.
Oh, no. So if you're a creator going through the process, this is stuff I'm going to be sending out because I think, especially for creators who haven't done coloring or haven't done the initial stage before, you get to come on the journey with me, which I'm really, really excited to take you guys on.
No, so when the campaign goes live, you're going to be sharing these kinds of little nuggets of information in your updates tab?
Actually, when the campaign goes live, a lot of these things will be finished already. So the only time to get on the journey with me is basically through the pre-launch, because once it's done, I will explain to you why the final image, exists the way it is. I'm happy to do that, but you won't get to come on the journey. Like I'm not sharing. If you notice, most campaigns, they don't go too much into how it's built. Like I'm not going to put a color test, these color tests into the campaign page. In the campaign page,
right,
the final colors, because it'll be marketing the final product. So if you like to see all this stuff happening, the pre-launch is where you see all the fun. You get to come on the journey.
So the pre-launch, where you sign up for the mailing list, that'll be constantly evolving as you lead up to launch day, and you'll get, in a sense, a behind-the-scenes look at what it took to bring this to life.
That's correct. So let's go down a bit more. You can get to see some panels in the actual comic itself. And this one is a lot colder as well. So this one has a much colder feel to it as well. So this one is, and you can start to see it come through.
She looks more machine than human now.
Yeah, this is the much more machine look. That's the dark blues and the blacks. So we stop on the first fight scene. The other thing which I love when I do much more realistic comics, like I do have a kids graphic novel which I do, which is basically, it's called Wordsmith. It's a steampunk.
Oh, Wordsmith! Yeah, that was another one I was interested in.
Yeah.
I keep missing out on all these cool campaigns.
Oh, I sign up. You won't miss out for this one. But with Wordsmith, when they fight, they say because it's a kid's book, you don't get half the stuff I do when I do something a bit more a bit more realistic fight scenes. With Wordsmith, they throw punches, but that's all they do. It's not a real fight. But in Terra Olympus, which is the sci-fi one, and in this one, all the fight scenes are very realistic. In terms of, I'm a big MMA fan, and I'm also a really big Ronda Rousey fan. Don't judge me. She's the one, and look, I will dispute this to anybody who wants to argue with me. Women's MMA did not exist before Ronda Rousey. I mean, it did, but she's the one who brought it to UFC. She brought the hype. She brought the excitement. I can't remember who owns UFC, but he would never, ever mainline a women's match. Ronda Rousey was the first main event. And she brought excitement to it. Like, I think her first 6 or 7 wins were by armbar. When I can't remember her name, but when one lady says, "Oh, you can," that's all you, because Ronda Rousey is a Olympic bronze medalist as well. I don't know if you know.
Oh, really? In also judo. In judo?
In judo, she is a bronze medalist. So she's very much into the takedowns, and that's why she's really strong in the takedowns. She's very strong in the takedowns. But with her, you notice that a lot of the fights here, when I talk to the artists, we bounce back and forth. Oh, watch this clip, or look at this. And so that's a standard takedown. You can see that's a charged single leg takedown. And then you can see the first thing the guy does is he tries to slip into an armbar. Even watching how they try to lock it in, this is realistic. This is exactly how fights go, the takedown. And she gets locked in. And I leave this a little bit of cliffhanger. Look, small spoiler alert, she does get out of the armbar, but you find out how she does it. And I think it's very cute. But the whole point about it is that the fights are all done this way in terms of the realism, in terms of, hey, guess what? The fights are, because I always like to think in terms of, if you get into a real fight with somebody, you may have technique, but God damn it, anything goes.
Oh yeah.
If you're in a real fight with somebody, you're not afraid to break their arm. You're not afraid to incapacitate them. You're out to basically take them out. And so if you're a trained fighter, I would think that probably the UFC or the MMA is probably the closest to that fighting style that you'll get.
Yeah.
Which I think it's fascinating. I would love to do a book down the track, just talking about fight scenes and stuff, which is very gun fu like. So you're talking like the Extraction, Equilibrium, where it's a fighting style that incorporates a weapon into it. A gun into it. I haven't done it yet. I haven't figured out a really nice take on it. But when I do, that's definitely a story I wanna get into.
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting you talk about fight tactics and how anything literally goes in a real fight. That's one of the first things you learn in martial arts. I studied excuse me. I studied Taekwondo, and one of the things they teach you is, when the idea is to practice and focus and get everything down to where it's like second nature. Because when it comes down to it, if you find yourself in a scenario whereby you are needing to defend yourself, you're not going to have things ideally situated. It's not like you're going to be able to take a moment and say, hold on a minute, mugger. Can you stand another 1.5 feet away from me so I can execute this kick perfectly? And, it's going to become more, if you do end up in a fight, it's going to end up more of like a grapple or a judo type of situation.
Correct. And look, and striking is still a big part. And if you got the range, if you can keep, I think what they said, if you're a striker, if you get into a situation where you find yourself, they always say the first thing to do is just walk away. That's the last thing to do. It's like they said, it's really not worth it. But if you come to a situation where you can't walk away, you basically, this is the best defense you can get, is basically you lift your arm up so that you keep them at least one arm length away. Or, how most fights start, you push them, they push you back and stuff like that. It's that pushing and shoving. If you can maintain that pushing and shoving distance for as long as possible, it's meant to give you enough space that you can turn and run without them hitting you in the back. You know what I mean? And they said, but if you ever come where you can't maintain the distance, they said, look, hit and hit hard. Don't do the stupid thing of aiming for the head. The head is a mass of bone. It's not going to work. Aim for the throat. Aim for the solar plexus. Aim for the groin. There's no bone there. Will you hurt them? Hell yeah, you're gonna hurt them. But you hit and you move away. Now, if you hit and you miss, and then they start going at you, then it's game on. It's whatever your hands can reach. You aim for soft point. Look, I did self-defense as well, and that's what they said. Look, I actually studied a bit of judo, and as fun as all the throws and stuff goes, the whole point about it is to get the guy on the ground and basically get out of there as quickly as possible. That's what they say. In the real situation, that's what you do. You're not out there to get them into a proper lock or to choke them out and stuff like that. With judo, they teach you how to do that, but not in real life. In real life, it's get them down and run.
Yep, for sure. Out of curiosity, was the design of this female here loosely based on Ronda?
No, as much as I like to say yes, no, it isn't. It's actually based on I'll get her name. Just give me a sec. Because whenever I do a lot of character designs, it's more an amalgamation of characters, if that makes sense.
All right, gotcha.
So it's I don't try to put it as one person, but let me just pull this up. If you ever wanted to get a reference, and she was just used as a reference more than anything else, there is I can't remember her name now. I'll get back to it. I'll add it to you. But no, unfortunately, it's not based around Ronda. It's not Ronda. And you can see the body type. She's not Ronda's body type. Ronda has that stockier build.
Yeah, she is stocky, right? Yeah.
She's not that stockier build. So if you want to go to the next page, I will show you something where this, and I know you mentioned you're trying to create your own series as well.
Yeah.
Scenes like this where you will get to fight with your artist. So it's in a television studio. So I gave you the reference. In most television studios, you got a crap load of lights all above you, so you can get, a particular lighting effect. You can get spotlighting. You can get all the stuff. So that's a shot. If you ever get bored, Google television studios. You see all the lights that sit on top of it. I told my artist, I want a scene where you got hundreds of people watching a television studio, and I want all the lights. And I think he wouldn't talk to me for a couple of days after that. He's going, "Are you joking me?" I'm going, "Yeah, just put more people in. Just keep putting people in." And he was like, it took you 2 minutes to tell me that. It's going to take me to draw that one freaking panel. It's going to take me a day on one panel. I'm going, yeah, more lights, more people, more lights. But, we still love each other. So, we made up. But you can see the detail that he goes into. Like, you see all the lights up the top. And you don't see too much in the ink. The colors will hopefully bring out as the lights turn on.
Right.
But pencils and the thing, it's crazy. It's a crazy amount of work that gets put into certain panels. And, you've got the old joke about, tell the artist, I just want 200 people running across a field in a charging motion. I want the cavalry on the left, make about 50 cavalry flanking, and I want about 100 archers on the hill shooting down arrows. And make it a double page spread. Yeah, let's do that. It's that whole joke, and the artist will just go, "Are you joking me? That's going to take me a week to do that double page spread." Yeah, take your time. But it's one of those things like, yeah, you can see the detail the artist actually puts into the page detail. That you know what, we do go for some of the big establishing shots. It's not just single character moments. They are shots like this. So
yeah. I never realized there were so many lights on the ceilings of these studios.
It's mainly because they're trying to make it all purpose. You can imagine if they're filming a sitcom, it needs to be lit up a different way. Even different scenes in a sitcom. You know how they with most sitcoms, they'll film like all the coffee shop scenes in one hit. They film it out of order. So they set the lights up for the coffee shop. And then all the friends move to the apartment. So all the apartment scenes are lit up different way because the furniture is placed in different places.
Right,
so
right.
All the lights have to accommodate all the different scenes that you're shooting. So that's why they go absolutely crazy. And different lights, different bulbs, different filters,
Wow, how cool. So was the finished result what you had in mind, what you envisioned?
It is, but yeah, he wouldn't talk to me for a few days. he just ghosted me for a few days. He's going, "It's done," sent it to me and goes, "I don't want to talk to you for a few days. I just can't."
Oh, he actually said that?
Kinda.
Oh, okay.
He did ghost me for a few days, but and the last thing on the show is like you still got your dynamic panels like this. Like, she has a cybernetic right arm, so as somebody's being shot, she still reaches out. And that's the other thing with comics. As much as I want to keep things realistic, I still aspire to the Kirby way of storytelling, which means you still exaggerate. As much as you keep things, hey, look, that's a takedown, that's a sweep or whatever. You can still exaggerate the motions a lot because it's still a comic, it's still a visual medium. So people like to see, someone stretching beyond what normally you would stretch. Or they start doing stuff that they normally, beyond what they normally do.
Oh.
So you can start to see that as well. So I always find that very, very exciting. So that's an example of a dynamic panel. So all the artwork is done, and we're going through all the coloring. But yeah, look, I really encourage you guys. Look, please sign up for the pre-launch if you haven't. I would love the guys to take you through the journey. It's basically, imagine if you sign up for the pre-launch, you get a free storytelling session, every week. Actually, probably every 2 weeks. I won't spam your email box. I'm posting every 2 weeks. You get me talking about the story, and maybe that if you're a creator, it would give you a lot of ideas. I know, like I mentioned, WyzGyz, you mentioned you're building a story. I hope some of the more, say, technical aspects of what I've described inspires you a little bit more, going, "Oh gosh, that's something I need to think about when I reach this stage, or something I need to think about when I reach this stage."
So your storytelling during the pre-launch, do you think there's a chance that you'll collect all that content and maybe release it in some printed form as like a behind the scenes or an art book of the making of Transhuman?
What I always do in all my books is I put in I actually do a lot more than most people. In most books, they usually put in, here's one storyboarding scene or whatever. I usually go for about 4 or 5. So I actually spend the time to explain. I do a lot of character designs at the back as well. So I do the process of that. I do find that people do enjoy that, and I actually get a lot of feedback from there, especially the ones, like I said, with Wordsmith for more the younger audience. One of the things I do is I do go to a lot of schools to do workshops.
Oh wow!
So as part of what I do, I do a lot of school workshops, and the kids love it. And I know a lot of people as well, like my age, they love it too. I love when I read any graphic novel. That's to actually get that authors behind the scene. So for example, if in Terra Olympus Volume 2, I explain a bit of how I come to the story, and I put a lot of storyboards into it. I explain why a character, looks the way they look. Um, for example, you find out through the story, how Rivka lost her eye, her ear, and her hand. But there's also the design part because have you heard of the concept of the everyday man in a story?
It sounds familiar.
I'm happy to elaborate on it.
Yeah,
It's
please.
if you're ever going through a story which has an element which basically the audience may not have heard about, um, say Ghostbusters.
All right.
You've got in Ghostbusters the three main characters are scientists. You got they're all scientists, and when they go through the story, um, you've got the whole concept behind them of they seem to know what they're talking about. They're talking about ectoplasm or this, and a lot of them when they they talk in a lot of I know what I'm doing already. So you've got all these things uh, when you're running through. All the different characters are saying, "I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this," but then you've got a guy called what was his name? Oh gosh, I know the actor's name is Ernie Hudson. Winston, Winston,
Oh,
Winston,
yeah.
Winston. Winston as the character in there, he's the everyday man. He's not a scientist, but he gets recruited as part of the team. And he's the one asking the guys the questions. What does this mean? How do you use this? What do you do here? And that gives the audience the insight into the story.
Oh, right. Okay.
So you've always got a character. So in this case, in this story, you've got these two opposing viewpoints. You've got this preacher who's basically very much into the emotional side, and you've got the cynical scientist on one side. And Rivka's the one who's trying to navigate the middle as she's transhuman, but the cool thing about her is she doesn't care about it. She's transhuman because not by choice. She didn't decide to upgrade her eyes. It's not she didn't do it by choice. She actually got into an accident where it was required. So she doesn't have a strong feeling about it. But as she's navigating the two, you get to get the story told because she's the one who's seeing both viewpoints and trying to marry up in her head. So also that's why it's called a Rivka story, because it's as much as it's two different viewpoints, it's really her story as she's going through. And you find with Rivka, she's messed up. Her life is messed up. She drinks to go to sleep. She's an introvert. She wants to, if she could just lock the door and vanish, that's what she would do. But you find that all out. I won't give too many spoilers away.
Right.
But
Exactly.
there's a lot of really nice character moments with her.
So, in all the books you've done, all these projects, these successful Indiegogo campaigns, are you typically the creator and story, the author, and then you seek out talent for pencils and inks and colors and lettering?
That's correct. So I usually just create. Look, I have done some character sketching and stuff like that. Look, I'm nowhere as good as the guys that are out there, and I've done a lot of live drawing and bits and pieces. But for me to do what they do would take me, for what they can do in about 4 or 5 hours, would take me about 40 hours to do. So, and I'm also the guy who, it's the usual stuff. If you're an artist, you hate your own work. You just do. And I hate my own work.
Oh,
I really do, with a passion. I look at it and just go, that's horrible. I'll send you one of the stuff I've done in the link. But the whole point about it is because I'm too judgmental of myself. I refuse. It just saves a lot of mental anguish to say, hey, look, you guys, you do a lot better than me. Run the story for me.
so Do you reach out to people you consider like whose work you admire and go, I've always wanted to work with this person, this person, this person.
Um,
You reach out to them and see if they have some time in their schedule to work with me on my project.
I did. So there was a guy, a Canadian guy called Eric Gravel, who actually did one of the first few stories with me, but he couldn't free up his schedule. So for the first artist I ever found, I actually did an open call. There's,
Oh,
so there's a lot. I went through freelancer.com.
oh, okay.
It's I think it's the site has morphed a lot, but it used to be the creative version of say Pencil Jack, where you post. So I posted up some sample images. I posted up how long the script's going to be, and basically I invited people to. Uh, I posted up I posted up a test script page. I remember at the time I posted up one test script page, and I said, look, I'm not paying you for the script page because, gosh, I can't pay everybody to do a sample for me.
Uh-huh.
If you want to apply, you do the script page. It's the same script page for everybody, so it's not like I'm trying to rip somebody off.
Right, sure. Yeah.
Because a lot of people say, oh, what if you give me page one, page two, and give somebody else page three, and then by the end of it, you've got to. And I was going, and somebody actually wrote that to me, and I was going, that's ridiculous. If I posted a graphic novel which had a different artist on every single page, how do you think that's going to work? He's going, oh, well, you're ripping people off. I'm going, no, you know what? You don't want to apply, you don't apply. Just
Right.
So as you can imagine, with all open calls, you get a lot of that bull crap. And what I said to somebody, look, this is not just a test page. It's actually a real script page.
Right.
So the good thing is, if I like your work and you sign the contract with me, I pay you straight away for that page. That's what I said to them. But so the first part of it was filtering all the hate email that came through to me, which basically was, how dare you? You're asking people to work for free and all the rest of it. I'm going,
Oh gosh, yeah.
So that was painful. That was it's a big lesson learned for me. That was actually very, very, very painful. I stuck to my guns though. I was saying, look, guys, I'm not ripping anybody off. You all get the same test page. It was mainly because although I can see your portfolio, what some people do, especially for international artists, what they sometimes do is they steal people's portfolios. You can imagine.
Oh, good
They
point.
do, and they submit stolen portfolios.
Oh, dang it.
So you look at it and go, oh, that's really good. Then they ask for a 10% deposit and they vanish.
Oh, shoot.
So by the fact that I'm giving you a test page, you also have to prove to me you can draw.
Oh man, yeah, that's very good points and parts facet of the industry people don't typically bring up.
Yeah, look,
There's some,
there's scammers out there. So by also you drawing a page which nobody's done before, it also means you're not a scammer because it also means you have to draw that damn page. And the second part I then had to do was all the people who were great at pin-ups and all the rest of it, but couldn't put together a sequential page, I had to filter out.
right.
I'm talking hundreds of applications, by the way. I regret it a little bit. It was a lot of work, but when you do an open call like that on those big sites, you get. I think I had close to 300 applicants.
Wow.
About 200 hate emails. So you just ignore them. But about 200 to 300 basically real applicants, of which then you have about 100 who just never got back to you in a quick time frame. So that's my red flag. If I send you an email or whatever, and you're trying to get a job from me,
Yep.
and take 2 weeks to reply to an email, you're out as well.
Yeah.
I just had so many applicants, I could be that picky and choosy. Unless they came back with a really big excuse, like, I was sick or whatever, I'll give them a second chance. But if they just came back with, oh, here's my link for you to look at, and it took you two weeks to come back to me, I'm going, I don't want to deal with that. So
Yeah.
I filtered those out. I filtered out the art styles that didn't suit me. You could knock off another 50, 60 like that. And
Did
some
you?
of that, yeah.
in your open call, did you also include a little blurb about what kind of style you were shooting for?
Oh, I actually gave them a sample style. So,
Okay. All right.
like the guy I worked with, although he didn't have time to do the whole book for me. He said, "Look, I've got too many projects." He did for me two art style pages. So I put those 2 pages up as well to say, "Hey, look, this is the style I like. I know I don't want you to copy it. I don't want an emulation, but this is what I like, and this is what I think suits."
Gotcha.
And so
All right, cool.
and some of it people put forward, and it's not no harm no foul. You look at somebody's work, you can admit somebody's work is technically good
Mhm.
without having to like it.
Yeah, sure.
And so I knocked off about 50, 60 of those. Then it came down to about 30. And of those 30 is the one I said, "Hey, look, I like your portfolio, I like your style. I now want to progress to a test page as per the job description. Can you please submit a test page on this script?" Then they sent the test pages through, of which you then knock off another thing. It came down then to about 3 people. And I then picked one artist out of those 3.
Right.
Eventually, that particular artist and through me has created more than say 300 pages of artwork with me. So he did the first book I did, which was Tabby. It was like Romeo and Juliet with cats. So he did it was a kid's book. So the good thing about it, the cats all lived at the end. It wasn't a happy ending, but the cats all lived. So any parents out there, please note, yeah, it's based on Romeo and Juliet, but nobody dies. But the whole point about that is he actually got more than 300 pages off me of work, and he's still working with me. So
Nice.
he's the artist who did Wordsmith.
Oh, cool.
So
Yeah.
he's done a lot of work for me.
Once you find someone you jive with who shares the same vision as you, then if at all possible, you want to keep them on your
Okay.
team.
Oh, look, I hope you can do this. So if you go to, say, Google, I know you have it open. And I'll give you the artist's surname, and you can. I'm always happy to give. He's a Polish guy. I'm always happy to give him a short plug as well.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. How do you spell it?
Daedalus, Dedelis, and just type artist or something. Daedalus artist. That should find it.
Art of PR Deadless
Yeah, art of Daedalus.
or Deviant Art or Daedalus DAportfolio.com.
I'll just pick one. That's and just hit images and things. The images just go up one. So underneath the search page, there's more images. More images, so you can go straight to the artwork. Up, a bit higher. Underneath the there's a
pure home.
So if you go back one, just go back a page. Back
I
a page.
think I know what you're talking. I think I know.
So in Google, you can go for an image search. So that's just
I use DuckDuckGo, but I know what you're talking about.
DuckDuckGo also should have like just for search for images as well. So if you go back to the search page,
is this the one?
Oh no. So this is a really old one. This is probably he's improved out of sight from here.
Oh, okay.
So if you underneath all the images, there's some more images. Oh, you found it.
Oh, there. Oh, okay.
So I'll run through a couple of the stuff though. So you see the colored image. So on the first row itself. No, the first row of the images. I was going to, if you can go back to that one. So the first row of images, the first image isn't mine, but that's an image he did for me. That's a Wordsmith image. That's the Christmas image. That's not one of mine, but you can kind of say almost all the first row of images are works he's done for me. So the one where you see the girl giving the guy the headlock, that's a series I did with him called 5 Seconds. And so that's one of the Kickstarter images of 5 Seconds. Basically, he's almost in his entire first row are stuff he's done for me.
Huh.
So if you scroll down a bit more, you see all the stuff he's done for me as well. You can see, yep, so that's 5 Seconds.
Wow.
So that's his artwork. Is the what you showed before was an old side of his, but he's improved out of sight. That's for Wordsmith.
Right on.
So you can kind of see all the stuff he's done. Because he's tagged in a lot of stuff I do, you can see that was the image for Terra Olympus. It's not his image, but he's done. Oh, if you can scroll down about 3 rows down, if you go down a bit, there's one image somewhere in the middle. If you scroll down a bit, if you go down a bit more, down. And it's the bottom row now, and so it's not the top row. The image somewhere in one image up, one row up. Oh, right, wrong way, up the other way. But you can kind of see all the stuff he's done. So much stuff is done for me.
Is the tabby part of the stuff?
Yeah, that's the cat. Thank you. That's the tabby image. You can see where your mouse is almost there, right in the middle. This is tabby. Thank you.
Tabby, thank you.
There, bottom center now. There, tabby is there.
Oh. You said there's something that says tabby, thank you?
Oh, so if you scroll down a little bit more, there, it says thank you.
Oh.
There, that's tabby. So that was the image I basically sent out to everybody at the end saying, hey, look, thanks.
Cool.
If you scroll up a bit, there's one page I want to show you. Up, and up a bit higher a bit, and stop. It's on the second row now, about the middle way through. And it's the image where you see 2 people talking. Yep, that's the one. If you click onto it, if you make that full size, I don't know if people can read the dialogue, but I have lots of fun with dialogue. This one is probably a little bit too verbose, but most of my stuff I write, I have fun with the dialogue. So this is basically them talking about 5 Seconds is very much a slice of life. It's a bit of a teen drama type thing, but she's imagining that she wants to be a supervillain, and I really like the on this page. So I had a lot of fun writing.
She wants a supervillain?
Of course, yeah. Isn't that every girl's dream to become an evil supervillain?
Oh, well, yeah, that's true, I suppose. Yeah.
Look, if you like, after all this is done, and I've got to get ready for my daughter soon. But what I'll do is I'll send you a couple of PDFs of stuff to Twitter. If you like reading stuff like this, I think you would enjoy. Transhuman is not as fun. It's not slice of life. It's a bit more. It's a bit darker. It's a bit deeper. But if you like slice of life, a bit more fun, 5 Seconds, it is a bit more fun. The whole idea is the protagonist, the guy on the left, can see 5 seconds into the future. So it's not enough that he can change the world, right? 5 seconds isn't enough, but it's enough that he can alter it slightly. He can have a bit of fun with it. Like he can predict things that are just going to happen and make small changes, but he's not enough. Like, for example, he can't buy lottery numbers because he doesn't have enough time to buy the ticket. He can't see that far in the future. He can just see a glimpse into So we have a bit of fun with that story.
That sounds pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, so far I like all the stories behind all the books that you've done. So definitely would love to see more of your stuff. Send it my way.
Awesome. Look, thank you so much for having me on. Look, I hope you enjoyed the talk about color theory and all the rest.
Um, Absolutely. Can you do me a favor and share with the audience how they can find you on social media?
Okay, so you can see my name at Sigmate Studio. So if you type Sigmate Studio one word like that into Facebook, you'll be able to find my Facebook page. If you type Sigmate Studio one word into Twitter, you can find me there as well. So find me either way. I am very responsive. Send me a message, and I'm more than happy to talk stuff through you. Also, if you've got any questions about color, creating art, talking about the artists, I don't hold artists or I don't hold creatives. So I've had quite a few emails of people saying, "Oh, can you reach out to any, if you like my art, if you like the artwork in the book, and you want to use these people, reach out to me. I'm more than happy to make the introduction to for whoever." I
Great.
think my job is basically to try to find them more jobs as well. And
Nice.
like I said, I don't hold artists. In fact, I actively try to promote them because um,
Good, good.
I like their stuff and I want to see more work go to them.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, makes sense. Um, I really love promoting ComicsGate books and getting the word out there to try and get books funded because there's lots of titles that I like and I want to make sure that the not only does the book get funded but the creator realizes their dream of
Oh,
getting their book out there.
thank you so much. And look, I that's the one thing about books I love to see, and I think and more less overseas, but much more in the U.S. Somehow, comics in the U.S. seem to have got tied in with the superhero genre. Not It's not a bad thing.
Right.
I loved it growing up, but I love to see this where they're telling stories which is just using the medium of comics to tell a story.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
It and look, if you look at say, look, I read a lot of Japanese manga. I read a
Yeah.
lot of Chinese comics as well. They
Yeah.
tell stories about everything. Like
Yeah.
you've got if and I think that's what's missing. It's not like, oh, I'm watching a movie. A movie can only tell me, can only be a romantic comedy.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
but it's a medium. It can be anything else. And I think it's a bit sad that, say, in the U.S., it used to be the case. You used to have romance comics. That used to be all the rage. You used to have horror comics. You used to have
Yeah. Yeah.
US comics, and I don't know enough of the history of what happened, but they've more like them as a medium, as a genre, they've all kind of died out. And even the stories which are being told, say, by the Image, Boom, or whatever, although they're still comics, um, they're still tied into that superhero genre a little bit. You know what I mean? Like Image was built off as a superhero company
Yeah.
and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And it just seems that that's why I love the indie scene, because there is so many good stories out there,
Mhm. Yeah.
which, you know what? I'm not going to follow a set genre. I'm not going to follow a set formula. I'm going to tell a story which is it's just because a story I want to tell,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
medium for it.
I think that's one of the areas where manga is really thriving because they aren't afraid to go, cross boundaries and go talk about subjects that people typically don't cover. Like they spend a lot of time on high school and grade school and relationships, and they talk about eating and cooking.
I love it. Look, there's one whole, but the whole point about it is it's like the U.S. comic scene. again, back about 50 years, had its own a whole section just dedicated to romance. Like goes
Yeah.
and
Romance. Yep.
and
Yep.
I find, I mean, in the world it is now, I want more people to read it. I don't want anybody excluded from telling a story.
Yeah.
I don't want it. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
I say I'm on the case that if you like something, come and join. You know, come
Yeah.
and tell a story.
Yeah.
Um, you know what I mean? You've got something. If you've got a story to tell, tell it. I don't. And that's where I feel sometimes, and getting a bit politically, like where stories get cancelled and stuff. It's honestly that really breaks my heart. That
Mhm.
really does, because you're just thinking, let the guy tell the story.
Right.
Let us have that entertainment. Let us have that medium.
Hmm.
You
Yeah.
know,
One of
don't. Yeah, it breaks my heart. You know what happens. It really breaks my heart.
one of the things that I'm really enjoying about ComicsGate is it's kind of opening my eyes more, in so far as I'm typically not drawn to things like horror and zombies, but there's a whole chunk of creators in ComicsGate who are into zombies and horror, and I'm actually digging it. So it's generated a new interest in me to explore those books, and then there are creators. There are a lot of CG creators that are getting into the whole idea of doing children's books, which is cool. You could have children's books based on all different types of properties, IPs that are original, and I'm loving that too. Um,
Look, I think that's fantastic. Look, that's what I'm saying. Get the medium, like get the medium right. Get it marketed right, and find your audience.
yep, yep, you know it. You know what? I know you got to get going, so let's see here. I wanted to thank you, SK, for stopping in with us. Um, I wanted to thank the audience. You can find me on Twitch under WyzGyz Switches, Twitter under WyzGyz Tweets, YouTube under WyzGyz Entertainment, and please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Mark the bell for notifications. Please be sure and mark all notifications so hopefully you get notified every time a new video comes out. And once again, I want to thank our very special guest, SK, for taking time out of his busy schedule to join us. Um, I let's see, yeah. So that's pretty much it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me on, and take care. I've
Yep,
got a jet. Thank you so much.
yep. And in broadcast in 3.